Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Cassie, and I am the History Department Chair here at Del Mar. And I'm really excited to talk to you about our IB History of the Americas course. Again, I am the Year 1 teacher. Dr. Holly Royalty is the Year 2 teacher of IB History of the Americas, otherwise known as IB HOTA. And HOTA is a 2-year HL course. So students take this course both their junior and senior year. Over the course of those 2 years, we do an in-depth study of historical events throughout the Americas. So while U.S. history focuses entirely on the United States, HOTA focuses on both North and Central and South America. We also look at two 20th century topics in depth, like the Cold War, and we do a comparative study between the United States and South Africa, where we look at the civil rights movement compared to the anti-apartheid movement. Students also, throughout their 2 years in this course, in addition to the content, learn a lot of really important historical skills, and they learn how to conduct and write their own historical investigation. A frequently asked question about an IB course, and particularly HOTA, is what does the homework look like? So for HOTA, the average homework is anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour per class period. It really depends on what we're doing. So HOTA oftentimes assigns things like reading assignments that we don't want to spend the time, in class doing. We'd rather spend the time in class processing the reading. We do a lot of front loading of content and homework so that students are able to come back to class, ask questions, discuss, and work more with the content. We also use homework to practice skills like writing, and homework also includes reviewing notes and study groups for assessments. Another frequently asked question and really big part of HOTA is the internal assessment, which is known as the IA. So this is a historical investigation and research paper on a topic of the student's choice. So in year 1, right after spring break, students create their own research question about any historical topic that's happened outside of the last 10 years. Their first full draft is written at the end of year 1, and their final draft is revised and formally submitted at the beginning of year 2. So in year 1, my students and I spend basically every class period after spring break going step by step through the investigation process. So while I can't look directly at and offer direct feedback for student work, except one time when they give me their first draft, I make sure to go through step by step each time with each part of the process. Again, we use a mix of class time and out of class homework for this, and this counts for 20% of students' IB exam score at the end of year 2. So because this is an HL course, students take the exam at the end of their second year, so in May of their senior year, and almost a quarter of their grade is based on their IA, which is really great because it really gives students the ability to kind of control their own destiny in that sense. So on the right-hand side, you can see some student samples. The average word count is 2,200 words is kind of the expectation for this paper. And so students in the past have written things like about justifications for dropping the atomic bomb, comparing and contrasting policies of various world leaders, really whatever students find interesting. And this ends up being a really, really special experience and one that prepares students very well for college. A day in the life of IB History of the Americas. We do a lot of things that require students to take information and process together. So rather than entirely lecture based where students write down and memorize facts, this course is really much more dependent on students processing information alone together and kind of creating their own historical narrative. So I've got some samples here, but basically, a sample lesson that we've done in the past has students evaluating to what extent the New Deal solved the causes and the symptoms of the Great Depression. Students had to come up with their own argument rather than just taking notes on, a textbook or a lecture. Students looked at sources and came up with their own argument to this question using analysis that they had worked on in groups. For the IB exam, there are 3 papers or parts of the test that are taken at the end of year 2. So again, Part of it is the IA, and then students actually sit for 3 separate papers or exams at the end of year 2. So the first one is paper 1. This is where we compare the civil rights movement with the anti-apartheid movement. And for this, it's 5 documents, 4 questions, including an essay and source evaluation. And our students typically do really well on this. And then paper 2 and paper 3 are straight essay exams. So paper 2 is 2 essays that students choose from, and paper 3 is 3 essays. But again, we really encourage students to pick topics for their IA that actually help them answer essay questions on paper 2 and paper 3. And we prepare for these in class. This is what we spend our class time over the 2 years doing. So for example, right now we are currently talking about the Cold War in preparation for actually paper 2 and paper 3. In terms of the drop policy, we really encourage students to stick it out for the first 2 years. Students cannot drop the first year of an HL class regardless. But we really encourage the full 2 years because it looks really good on a college transcript, but also because it really allows students to develop the skills that they begin in year 1. So upon the completion of the first year, candidates may discontinue, but we really discourage that. And it also, if you drop HOTA after year 1, there's a chance that you have to enroll in both US history and government. So we really, we don't expect students to drop in between year 1 and 2, but we really want to make sure that students kind of stick with it. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me. I check it very frequently, or feel free to reach out to Holly Royalty, who is our year 2 teacher. Take care.